What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Raw Prospect Podcast. Today is episode 112. Today is August the 2nd, 2022, and I'm joined by two new guests on the show. Will, who is currently my teammate at Bethany, Cardinals fan, was on the show on a Patreon podcast maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. And then Joep, the first non-American guest on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, welcome, guys. Today we're just gonna run through the QB brackets. Yesterday we did the round one with Michael, and today we're gonna go through round two and the rest. And we'll just start off with y'all. Just running through who you had moving on to round two, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect. Do you have the names for us, or do you have the bracket anywhere we can see it for reference?
Well, here, I have it in front of me right here. Let me pull it up. Okay, so we'll start with the AFC. So to get into the 16th seed, it's Trevor Lawrence versus Zach Wilson, and I'll send you the picture of this Joep right now, just so you can have it in front of you. But for now, just who do you think moves on from that? Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson.
Is this for fantasy, or is this just like normal football?
Well, our criteria is kind of just based on what we've seen from them. We'll try to project who will be better next season. So it's all kind of speculating, opinion based.
Okay.
But I just think it's a fun exercise to kind of do this bracket with the QBs so we can see who we think is the best, just based on our bracket here.
Well, I'll let Will start it off as the expert.
All right, perfect. Let me send this to you. Uh-oh. Can't hear you, Will.
I can't hear Will either.
Interesting. Oh no. Okay, we're having some technical difficulties, guys. We're just gonna pause the show really fast, and then we'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back. We got the technical difficulties figured out, and we're just gonna continue with the bracket. So, where we left off was with you, Will, and you were gonna tell us who you had moving on between Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence.
So between the two, I had Lawrence going. I think that last year Lawrence just wasn't in a good environment with Urban. It wasn't a good environment for a young rookie quarterback to, and I think the Jaguars realized this. Obviously, fired Urban Meyer halfway through the season. During the offseason, they've really gone out and gotten weapons. Lawrence, like Christian Kirk, ETN's going to be back. They have a good connection there. So between the two, I got Lawrence. I think the Jets hit a. I'll give them that, but I still don't think it's enough. I don't think Zach Wilson has that raw potential that Lawrence has. So that's why I think Lawrence is going to. I think he's going to catapult this year. I think the Jaguars are going to be. A lot of people are going to be surprised by. I think they're going to possibly come see, but I don't think they're going to get in. I think they could definitely go above 500.
Interesting. Okay, Joep, let's hear your take.
I like that take. Well, first of all, obviously Zach Wilson's just an absolute dog, so I love him for that. But I think Trevor Lawrence I think he's the better QB, so I'm gonna go with Trevor Lawrence. Like, based on what he's done throughout college and last year, I think he's got more potential than Zach Wilson. Even though Zach Wilson he slays, so I'll give him that. But I'm going with Trevor here.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. That's who I went with also last podcast. Go check out that podcast. Like I said before, if you haven't watched that yet, you can go there to catch up and see who we picked beforehand. Okay, moving right along now to the next matchup, which would be now that Trevor Lawrence is moving on, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes versus Trevor Lawrence. This one's pretty simple, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it's clear cut. Mahomes makes it.
Yep.
I'm going full Mahomes here as well, despite his interesting brother. I think Mahomes is the way better QB.
Yeah. Number one seed for a reason. Simple enough. Okay. Moving right along here to a much more interesting matchup. Is going to be Derek Carr versus Matt Ryan. And on the last episode, I actually went with Derek Carr just because I'm projecting a big season from him. I think with the addition of Devontae Adams and him having that trio of weapons and Darren Waller, Adams, and Hunter Renfrow, and as well as Josh Jacobs in the backfield, I think they're going to be a very prolific offense. He's going to throw for a lot of yards and, possibly push for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with you on that. I think I'm a big sleep on the Raiders. I feel like, but I think they're definitely going to be competitive, especially in that AFC West division than people think. Weapons, they have the defense. They went out. They got some good additions to defense. A bit older. I don't think he's going to be nearly as good as he was when he was on the Cardinals, but I provide them good snaps and good production. So yeah, he has the weapons. He has that college connection with Adams. Yeah, this is a perfect situation for Derek Carr to make. I think.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think even without Adams, honestly, I'd probably still go with Derek Carr. And all of these division games that they're going to be having are just going to be absolutely electric this year as well. So there's going to be fun to watch. But I'm going Derek Carr here for sure.
Okay, yeah. One thing I did say last episode about Matt Ryan was I think if the Colts had more weapons, I feel like I would feel a little bit better about picking him because I do think the Colts have it's tough, it's pretty close, but I do think they have the better overall roster. They have the better offensive line, better defensive line. So I mean, it kind of depends on how good you think the Raiders will be in terms of winning games. But just quarterback wise, got to go with Derek Carr. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next matchup is going to be Justin Herbert versus Tua Tagovailoa.
This one I think is going to be a bit closer than people. I think Tua is going to have not a breakout year, but he's going to definitely have one of his best years this year. Tyreek Hill, Mike McDaniel,
Jalen Waddle,
who is
as well.
Jalen, having another year with him to develop that connection. I think Tua is going to have a sort of a breakout year, and he's going to be higher on this list next year if we do it against seed. But I'm going to go. You have to go with Herbert there. The kids he came out of college. He's a dog. He's a West guy.
For sure.
I mean, he's been breaking records, and I think, he's pretty much the embodification of a stud. And I think Tua's he's got the weapons around him, so if he doesn't show it now, he's not gonna be like that guy. But Justin Herbert is that guy for sure.
Embodification. That's a cool word you made there. I like that.
We're 4-0, not bad, huh?
Yeah. Innovating the English game right now. Okay.
Trying.
Yeah, I agree. Justin Herbert, pretty simple. But yeah, Tua, I think Tua will be solid this year. I agree. I think the Dolphins are going to be better than people think. Okay. Next matchup. Going along pretty smooth here. Okay, this one's interesting. Joe Burrow versus Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield obviously moved over to the NFC, but when we made this bracket, he still was in the AFC. So, what do y'all think?
You gotta go with Burrow here. He's the more, just in a short time, he's produced more. He has more accolades, and he's just overall, I think. Obviously, you saw the off the field stuff this summer with the falling out between him and the Browns was pretty ugly. Bro, people kind of just gravitate around towards him, and when you have a guy like that, it's easy to play their best because they want to play for him, and I don't think people are going to have that reaction towards him. I mean, what was it? It was Robbie Anderson. The tweet that he sent out about Field, and he's since then backtracked saying, he wasn't saying that defending his current quarterback, but at the same time, it's not a good look.
Right.
Yeah, I want to start off by saying I think Joe Shice is just an absolute champion, so he's going to be my pick for sure. Although I do think that Baker Mayfield is going to, for some reason, I think he's going to do pretty well, though. I think he's going to step up to the division and show why he should be QB1 over Sam Darnold. But I'm still going with Joe Burrow easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty simple here. I'm going with Joe Burrow as well. I went with him last episode also. But the one thing with Baker is if he has that chip on his shoulder, he's a very, prideful dude. And he definitely will have that chip on his shoulder this year. Week 1, he's going to be playing the Browns. He's going to get up for that game. But I want to see him be consistent. We haven't seen that thus far in his career. Oftentimes we see him have a good 3-week stretch and then he'll follow that up with 3 interceptions or something like that. So we got to see the consistency and we got to see him do it this year. This is his last chance, I think, as a starter. So hopefully he can come through. Okay, next matchup is going to be Deshaun Watson versus Mac Jones.
Mac Jones or Daniel or
Deshaun Watson versus Mac Jones.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Mac Jones. Sorry, that's my bad.
You're good. You're good.
If we're going based off of, obviously Watson won't be playing the first 6 games, so I think that's a knock. I think that's a knock on the off the field distractions. Obviously, Deshaun Watson is a better over, but I think for this year, if we're talking about this year, I think Mac Jones is honestly better than Deshaun Watson because of that. Mac Jones will have those 6 extra games, and Deshaun Watson has the off.
Yeah, I think Mac Jones.
So I'm going with the upset.
I like that. Mac Jones is in a good situation, obviously, with very experienced coach, good people around him. But I'm gonna go with Deshaun Watson anyway. I think he's the better QB, and I'm curious to see how he does after all the accusations and all the stuff that he may or may not have done. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays after all the stuff on the side.
Right, exactly. Last episode, I actually went with the upset. I actually took Mac Jones. I do think Deshaun Watson is the better quarterback, but my theory more so has to do with rust and also how will his body react to his style of play. If you remember, when Deshaun Watson was playing, he was behind, not only playing behind a bad offensive line, but he also had a very physical style of play. If you remember there was a game against the Cowboys where he dove to the end zone and got absolutely clobbered. And that kind of stuff happened all the time with Deshaun Watson. So how will his body react after not playing for an entire season and some, and will
Well, to be
he
fair, he's getting all the massages to make sure his body is nice and relaxed. So that does help.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe he's massaging the wrong muscles though.
I guess so.
Yeah. Okay. That's enough of that. We'll move on to the next matchup. And that's going to be Russell Wilson versus the GOAT, Mitchell Trubisky. What do y'all think?
Being a Cardinals fan, I'm a little biased here. There is a case to be made that Trubisky could possibly Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's obviously getting older. Trubisky's situation with better coach Mike Tomlin and which could allow flourish as a quarterback. But then again, Wilson, he has all of these weapons around him with the Broncos offense. And I just really I can't see Wilson realistically having a good year in that offense. Do I think that the Broncos are going to do as well as people think they are in the AFC West? No, I think they could vary in that division. But we'll take Wilson over Trubisky here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Broncos might be honestly the worst team in that division, but I think like Russell as a QB is definitely better than Trubisky as a QB. So I'm going to go with Russell here as well.
Okay, we've got some takes on the Broncos. Interesting. Obviously, a lot of our teammates are Broncos fans or our former teammates. So I'll be interesting to see what they have to say after this podcast. But yeah, fair enough. Okay, Russell Wilson, that's who I went with also. But it'll be interesting to see how he does in round 2 because y'all seem to be lower on him than most. Okay. Now we have Lamar Jackson versus Ryan Tannehill.
It's got to be Lamar Jackson. I think Tannehill is a overrated quarterback. I think he would, because of the situation he was in with Derrick Henry. They were the number 1 seed. Now Derrick Henry did get hurt, but he did come the year and give them that push to get the number 1 seed when a lot of it crumble. But no, I still think Jackson is. There's an argument made he's the best scrambling quarterback in the league. And plus he's developed his arm over the past 3 years, 3 or 4 to make it maybe not elite, but good. So Jackson for me all the way. Here.
Yeah, I think Tannehill's he's obviously pretty decent, but he's nothing special. And if you're talking about special, I think Lamar is special. Like the way he can scramble, his arm's getting good, and he's one of my favorite QBs to watch. So I'm going Lamar very easily.
Right, I agree. I just think Ryan Tannehill, he's the good thing about Ryan Tannehill is what you're getting week to week, but what he is not special. You're not going to be winning because of him, but you're not going to be losing because of him most of the time. In the playoffs, they did, but most of the time you won't be. Normally, he's pretty steady, especially when you pair him up with a good running game, obviously with Derrick Henry. But the thing that I struggle to see moving forward with Ryan Tannehill is with Derrick Henry getting older now, people don't realize Derrick Henry's 29 years old. That's pretty old for a running back. So with Derrick Henry getting older, is he going to be able to maintain this level of play? For me, I don't think so. So Lamar Jackson pretty easily, very easily. Okay,
Tannehill just
now
lost his best wide receiver.
right, exactly. They also are lacking at tight end as well, which he really likes having a good tight end. Pause. Okay. Last but not least, I think it took y'all a second to get that one, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. For the last one, we apologize for this matchup being a little bit outdated, obviously with Teddy not being a starter anymore, but bear with us. We have the 2 seed Josh Allen versus the 15 seed Teddy Bridgewater.
Allen all the way. I didn't even know Bridgewater was still in the league, honestly. This guy just his legs are broken. Yeah, Josh Allen. Say.
Okay, fair.
Well, I'm going Bridgewater. No, I'm kidding. That's definitely Josh Allen all the way. Plays golf. He's a stud. He's one of the best QBs at the moment. Love the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, easy, pretty simple there. Okay. Do y'all want to do round 2 in the AFC or do you want to do round 1 in the NFC?
It's your world, Amy.
Let's go do the NFC. I think that'll be
all right.
I think that'll be smoother that way. Okay. So, the first matchup in the NFC is going to be the 8th seed Jimmy Garoppolo versus the 9th seed Jameis Winston. And this one's tough, man. I think this is the best matchup out of all of them.
I think that, to me, this is 100% Jameis Winston by a mile.
Okay.
Jameis Winston. If you looked at what he was doing before he got hurt, he was leading the Saints. They were 5-2 through 7 games. He got hurt.
Right.
They lost in week 8, but that was because he got hurt in week 8. But then the NFC before he got hurt, and I think he's been putting his training videos. They're something special. I think people underestimate Winston more than they should. And plus, with the return of Michael Thomas, eventually will be back, hopefully. And then Alvin Kamara will be back after a really good second half of his season. And also Garoppolo, he just isn't that San Francisco. They're going to be in heaven for at least the beginning of the year.
Right. I think they're probably moving on to Trey Lance anyway.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be going with Trey Lance. He probably won't even be playing. Besides, I think Jamie's just got way more upside than Jimmy does. Because I think, didn't he lead the league in yards in like 2019 or 2018 with the Bucks? So that goes to show that
he did.
He's got the upside there. I mean, Jimmy might have gone to the Super Bowl final or the Super Bowl, yeah, but he's not that guy. He's not that guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately. He's good looking, but that's about
it. Yeah, it's the reason I thought this matchup was pretty tough was because, as good as Jameis is, and I'm not underrating his talent at all. He's extremely talented, strong arm, athletic. But as talented as he is, he hasn't been able to win in the NFL. And he's had solid rosters, even when he was with Tampa Bay. Obviously, we saw what Tom Brady was able to do when he arrived in Tampa Bay.
That is a fair statement.
And Jameis wasn't able to take that team to the playoffs. But, I do understand y'all's criteria. I definitely do. But I went with Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, I don't necessarily think he's the better quarterback, but I do think he just has a knack and knows how to win games. When he has good weapons around him, he's able to get the ball out quick. And, most weeks he'll do just enough to win games. And that's what matters. Jameis will throw for a ton of yards and have a lot of stats. And then most times I feel like he just kind of falls short in the winning intangibles.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one. But we will move on. Okay. The 5 seed Kyler Murray versus the 12 seed Jared Goff.
I mean, Murray by a million. Goff is he's in Detroit, so that's obviously that's and also Kyler Murray, Brown. I think that's going to really open up the offense to where Cliff hasn't been able to run the air raid offense that I think he's wanted to in his first Cardinals, mainly because we haven't had that guy that can really stretch the and just go deep. We had Christian Kirk that fast to where he could be that guy, and we tried to make him that guy. I don't think it was a role that suits him. Marquise Brown, though, is he's a true deep threat wide receiver, and I think that's how we're going to use up. And then when DeAndre Hopkins eventually comes back after that weapon as well, Rondale Moore opens up the running game using wide receiver sweeps, across the backfield, and you have James Conner who can catch a ball in the backfield. On top of that, you have 2 very, very solid tight ends, being Hyde and Zach Ertz. Both of those guys, I think, produce for you in multitudes of ways. So, yeah, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray's the way better QB at a way better team. And I hope him and the Cardinals do well because Will over there is a big Cardinals fan, and he deserves some luck with his teams. He hasn't been the luckiest of guys when it comes to sports. So I pray that they do very well.
I agree with that. One thing I'll say about Jared Goff is the Lions did level up a little bit this year. They added a lot of talent, but it's not close here. Kyler, I mean, he's rare. That level of talent and the combination of his speed and his ability to throw the deep ball at a prolific level is it's once in a generation type stuff. So
it's scary, honestly.
Yeah. It's second to none. Okay. Next matchup. It's our boy Dak Prescott, versus
Let's go Dak.
Yep, versus Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones.
Yeah, another just no-brainer here. Prescott by a million. Daniel Jones is the equivalent of a wet rag when he's on the football field, in my opinion.
Yeah. I just want to say, fuck Danny Dimes. This is Dak Prescott all the way. Cowboys, great team, great offense. This is going to be our year. I can tell.
Exactly.
Spoken like a true.
It's going to happen. Okay. Next matchup. Kirk Cousins versus Jalen Hurts.
Jalen
Okay.
Hurts doesn't have the weapons. Well, he has the weapons around him with Justin Jefferson, though. He has Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. But if we're going base quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins is, he's starting to get a bit older. Hurts is, time. Plus, with the addition of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I have the upset year being Jalen Hurts over Cousins. I think he's going to come into his own.
Okay.
Yeah, initially here I was thinking Kirk Cousins. Justin Jefferson's being one of the best QBs in the league, and Cousins putting up great numbers when it comes to throwing deep balls to him. But I think Hurts is going to do very well with his athletic ability. AJ Brown being there, so I'm going to go with Hurts as well.
Okay, cool. I actually went with Kirk Cousins here. But here's my reasoning. Okay. Obviously the Vikings brought in a new coach this year. They brought in an offensive-minded coach. That's the first time they've had an offensive-minded coach since Kirk has been there. Obviously Mike Zimmer has been there, and he's very old school with the mindset of we have to run the ball first, blah, 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 blah. But they have the weapons to where, they're going to be running the Ram-style offense. So I think you throw Justin Jefferson in that Cooper Kupp role, and I think things are going to really flourish here. I think this has a chance to be a very prolific offense. I definitely think Jalen Hurts will improve. He has improved every year that we've seen him on the national stage, going back to his college days. But at the same time, I give the edge to Kirk because I don't really know how much Jalen Hurts will improve because he went from being, kind of average to solid starter last year. Will he make the jump to star or like legit star? You know what I'm saying? And Kirk has been solid, and as long as Kirk can just take care of the ball, I think with the weapons he has, I think they're going to be making the playoffs this year.
I think they will too. I think you can go either way with this pick.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting matchup for sure. Okay. Moving on pretty smooth here. First we got to do the matchup to get into this 14 seed. So the matchup is Marcus Mariota versus Gardner Minshew. But okay, at the time we didn't know that Gardner wasn't going to find a team. At the time that there was rumors that he would be going to the Steelers. So it's fair if you just go with Marcus because he's going to play. But what do you think?
I think I feel like we haven't seen. We saw Marcus Mariota in Tennessee,
right.
but we haven't really seen anything since then. And to be fair, his tenure at Tennessee was lackluster. Like, it wasn't that impressive.
Right.
Minshew was a younger guy. The report saying that he's improved a lot. I went with Minshew.
Okay. I like that. Bring back Minshew Mania. I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't seen too many impressive things from either of them, but just based on the facial hair, I'm going to go with Minshew here.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely Minshew wins that battle. The Hawaiian vibes with the neck beard doesn't really work for Mariota, in my opinion. But,
Oh no.
He's got to do him, and I respect that. So with that being said, who do you have winning between Matthew Stafford and Gardner Minshew?
Stafford.
Okay.
Yeah, very easily Stafford.
Either one was good.
Right. Yeah, those little matchups are more of a fun exercise. Those don't matter much because they get absolutely destroyed in the next round. So it is what it is. Okay. Last matchup of the first round, the NFC side, is going to be the 7th seed Carson Wentz versus where did you go? Versus the 10 seed Justin Fields. Okay. I'll repeat that. Carson Wentz versus Justin Fields.
Now, where did
Wentz ended up in Washington?
Yeah,
with the
okay, that's
Commanders.
right. Mm-hmm. Go. Matt Nagy's still their head guy.
Matt Nagy got fired last year, actually.
You got. I'm gonna go with Wentz here. I mean, both of these are just to me they're not impressive. Wentz does have the experience with the Eagles, but since then he's been kind of he's been pretty lackluster. He was in a bad situation though, but at the same time, Wentz has a little bit more with McLaurin.
Curtis
And then
Samuel.
that Washington defense is a top-notch defense in the league.
Yeah. Well, I think Wentz is definitely the more solid one here. Although I will say, I do love it whenever Justin Fields is scrambling and you're seeing his speed and seeing what he's able to do. So it's fun to watch him, but I'm gonna go with Wentz here as well.
Yeah. I'd say if the Bears had a better offseason, I would be going to Fields here. But the Bears actually had the opposite. I mean, they're in full rebuild mode, which I don't really understand. You have your young quarterback, you got to be able to support him, add weapons around him so he can flourish and really develop good habits. But it doesn't seem like they're going to be doing that, and that's why the Bears are the Bears, I guess.
Yeah.
I went with
True.
Wentz. Okay. To keep things simple, let's just continue on to the round 2 on the NFC side.
Okay.
So the 1 versus 9 matchup for y'all is going to be Tom Brady versus Jameis Winston. So who do y'all have?
This could be. Tom Brady is getting very, very, very old.
Yes, he is.
He can't.
But people have been saying that for 10 years.
He can't keep up this level of production. He's lost. His weapons have gone down. He lost Gronk.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that connection to throw to anymore. Good weapons in Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Ronald Jones.
Julio Jones now as well, didn't he?
Right, Julio
Jones too. I forgot about that. Yeah. Just because of the age, if this was obviously like 5 years, it's Brady by a mile. But because of the age, Winston, they beat the last year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, clearly just go with your gut, man. I mean, it's once you get to the second round here, it gets pretty tough. So, I mean, clearly you're high on Winston, and I think the Saints will do well this year. So we'll be able to see in their matchups how that goes. But what do you think, you?
Well, I know Brady's only 7 months away from getting his first Medicare check, so he is getting a bit old. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's you don't bet against Brady.
Yeah.
So even though I really hope Winston's going to do well, and I think he will, it's still going to be Brady for me, for sure.
Yeah. It's Brady for me as well. It's exactly what you said. You don't bet against Tom Brady. It's as old. I mean, he took a month off of his Tom Brady method training when he retired.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think aging a month will do much to this dude. I think he'll be all right.
Nah.
Okay. Next matchup is going to be this is a fun one. Dak Prescott versus Kyler Murray. Woo! It's getting spicy now.
Kyler, like for me at least, it's Kyler.
Okay.
There may be a little bit of bias, so you have to look at the Cardinals are stronger this year. Where if you look at the Cowboys offense, it moved. They lost Amari Cooper, which a lot of people slept on. I think people said CeeDee Lamb was. I don't see how that's the case at all. I think Amari Cooper was the cornerstone of that. Plus, you add that in with an aging Ezekiel Elliott, who has not looked good the past 2 seasons. He's looked okay, but nothing like
Old Zeke.
Mm-hmm. And he's got his connection with Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins for 6 weeks, but still, he's going to be back for most of the season. And when you have a guy like that, it's just it's incredible. You know words how helpful that is to a quarterback.
Yeah.
And also looking back on history, Murray has better than Prescott in his career, in my opinion. He's looked more. He's looked like he's had more potential than Prescott.
That's fair.
So that's why I have to go with Murray.
Well, I think you're gonna be getting a bias answer from both of us because obviously I like the Cowboys and I'm Dak all the way through. Well, Will's saying all makes sense, and I would have to agree with him, but I'm gonna go with my biased answer anyway, so I'm gonna go with Dak.
Yeah, I respect it, you. I'm gonna go with Dak as well.
Woo!
But okay, I do acknowledge. Here's my reasoning. I do acknowledge that Kyler Murray has the higher ceiling as a quarterback, and that he's most definitely more talented. But I do think Dak Prescott is a better leader, and he's also. I just think you're not going to like this part. Kyler quit on his team in that playoff game, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
that left a sour taste in my mouth, and I just don't think Dak, for all of his shortcomings, athletically or whatever you want to say, I just think he's a fighter, man, and that's why I got to go with him. It's tough because it's also the fact that we're projecting. I do think Kyler. If I were to choose between these two guys, who has a higher chance of winning an MVP this year, it's most definitely Kyler Murray. But in this case, I am going to go with Dak Prescott.
I like that, Amy. Wise words.
I'd be interested to hear your rebuttal on that, though.
I agree with you that Prescott is a better leader. I'm hoping that Murray, with age, will,
grow into that,
become a leadership role.
Right.
So hopefully, this year is a big coming out year for him with all that. Again, I don't think that's a bad take. I think he did sort of give up on his in the playoff game. Now, of course, it's hard to not be in that mindset when you're losing back or whatever. When your defense can't, you're on the field constantly. So, yeah. No, I don't think that's that. But not.
Okay.
I still take Murray over Prescott.
Okay. Yep.
Fair enough.
Fair. Okay. We will move on. And for you guys, it's going to be Jalen Hurts versus Matthew Stafford, and for me, it's going to be Kirk Cousins versus Matthew Stafford.
I think we on this is it's going to be Stafford moving on. Reigning MVP champ has so many weapons around him. It is insane.
Right.
How Rams have. I don't know where they got this money. There's supposed to be a cap. I don't know where cap.
I think the cap's higher now. I don't know.
Well, what they did was they took advantage of void year. So basically what teams do is they'll kick the can down the road and they'll say, screw it, we want to win now. So we're going to push this cap into next year and we're just going to have to shed it next year. But then they don't shed it next year and then they just kick it down the road again. So that's how you end up with teams like the Saints who were in a $90 million hole and then somehow came up with 10 or 11 free agents,
Yeah. But Stafford, I mean, they found him, and they obviously look like they could try for the Super Bowl again to go back.
Right.
Yeah, I think they can go back to back, and I think Stafford is the guy to lead them to the Super Bowl for sure.
Yeah. Okay. For me, it's Matthew Stafford versus Kirk Cousins. It doesn't change things too much, but I do think it's kind of interesting how the narrative has really changed in 1 year. In like just over a year ago when Matthew Stafford was with the Lions, you would think that you'd put Stafford and Kirk kind of on the same tier. But it's crazy how things have changed, and I'm happy for Stafford, and he's clearly shown to be the better player. Gonna go with Stafford.
Yeah.
I think Stafford was always the better player, even when he was at the Lions. It's just he didn't have coaching staff or team around him. So.
Right, exactly. But he was the better player, but the knock with both of those guys for a long time was they weren't able to get it done in the big games. But it's splitting hairs at that point. Okay, the last matchup is going to be Carson Wentz versus Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers, brag. I hate.
Yeah, it's Rodgers by a mile.
Yep.
I hate Rodgers.
4-time MVP by now. He's a...
Yeah, you can't argue with his resume, man. He's for everything that he is in the playoffs. He's also that dude in the regular season, and for most points in his career, he's been that dude in the playoffs. Also, just he's had a couple hiccups. That's all. Okay. Now we'll move back over to the AFC side and run through our round 2 over there. And then depending on how much time you guys have, we might cut it off there or we'll continue. It doesn't matter to me. But we'll figure out when we get there. Okay. AFC now. Okay. Round 2 matchup here is going to be the number 1 seed, Patrick Mahomes, versus number 8 seed, Derek Carr.
So I think than the seeds suggest. Carr is obviously, if they didn't have Devontae Adams, I would say Mahomes. But they really their team during free agency. They got Devontae Adams, Jones. They paid Max Crosby. Mahomes, the Chiefs got worse. They lost Tyreek Hill. They brought in Juju Smith. Not an adequate replacement.
Right.
They lost to the Cardinals. I can't remember what his first name is. I think it might be Darnell Williams.
Damian Williams.
Damian. I knew it started with a D. They lost Damian Williams, who kind of stats. He kind of flew under the radar. He was able to produce a lot of quality production for them over the year. And when you kind of lose a guy like that, you're missing that. Now they're going to have Edwards-Helaire back, who was hurt for most. So I still have Mahomes taking it over. It's a lot closer than what the seed suggest.
Fair. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, obviously, in losing Tyreek Hill, they lose an important piece of their puzzle. But so many Chiefs have recently won a Super Bowl. Mahomes has been a Super Bowl MVP. He's been a regular season MVP. So as much as I like Derek Carr, I think Mahomes he's better. He's going to be the pick here.
Right. Yeah, I do think, the downgrades to the receiver core, it's fair. They did lose quite a bit. But the difference to me between a guy like Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carr is when the play breaks down and, things are out of structure and you just need a dude to make the play. You just need a dude to make a play. There's just not that many guys who can do it like Patrick Mahomes. That's what sets him apart.
Yeah.
As good as he is in structure, he's even better out of structure because it just puts so much fear into the defense. The fact that he can at any moment, break off a 80-yard touchdown at any point in the game. So to me, it's Patrick
the play
Mahomes
isn't over.
here.
Yeah, the play isn't over with Mahomes until he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right. Next one.
Next matchup is going to be. Okay, I clicked on the wrong one. Hold on. AFC. Okay. Next matchup is going to be Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. Ooh, man. This is tough. Yeah.
That is a tough one.
Matchup.
It's preference. It's just personal preference here, guys. I think this is all just gut.
Both players have amazing teams around them. They have good defenses. For both, they have great weapons. To me, these are two identical players. If you look at their situation, you have Jamar Chase and Keenan Allen as your star wide receivers, both 10 receivers in the league. Then you have Austin Eckler. Eckler's obviously, a little bit better than Mixon, but still both running backs in the league, in my opinion.
Right.
T. Higgins, Mike Williams, Tyler Boyd. The defenses, the coaching staffs are both great. Man, this is. I mean, I'm gonna give here just because he went to the playoffs or he went to the Super Bowl. Pretty much was winning the Super Bowl too. If he had an extra 5 seconds, just not even an extra like second,
right,
to throw the ball. So I'm a.
Yeah, I think this is arguably the toughest matchup out of any QBs that you can put against each other. I think Justin Herbert, like I said, is one of the biggest studs in the leagues right now. But just based on recent success and the fact that Joe Shiesty is just a winner, he's got that drip. So I'm going to go with Joe Burrow on this one. But either answer is going to be a good answer, I think.
Yeah, I agree. The tough part about this is we haven't seen Joe Burrow with a good offensive line yet, which is just crazy. Last year, Justin Herbert, he had a okay offensive line, I'd say. His right tackle last year was terrible, but everything else on his offensive line was above average to good. And Joe Burrow could not say the same. The fact that Joe Burrow was able to just get every last drop of production out of the time that he had in the pocket. It's just all the reasoning I need to go with him.
Yeah.
It's really tough because Herbert is clutch. He's shown that. He showed that in the Raiders game, even where he got eliminated. He did everything he could. And if it wasn't for the performance Josh Allen put up, I think that performance wouldn't be as overshadowed because everybody talks about, how Josh Allen got robbed. And he did. But Justin Herbert did too. I mean, he was, one timeout away from that game being a tie and him going to the playoffs. And then who knows what happens.
True.
But at the same time, if you look at a quarterback, he shouldn't have been in that position. He should, that guy, that dog. Mm-hmm. He shouldn't have been in that position to begin with because he clinched a playoff spot.
Right.
Joe Burrow, it came down to last week, but he convincingly just walked into the playoffs.
Won his division as well.
Yeah, okay, yeah, won his division. Yeah, he walked into the playoffs. I think, I'm taking Burrow over Herbert here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Burrow also. That point actually did bring some memories back to me. If you remember, the Chargers did lose to the Texans, I believe, in week 16 or 17. That was wild.
That was painful.
Going to go with Burrow. Okay, next matchup. It's going to be oh, man. Okay, I'm not even going to say that. Okay, Deshaun Watson versus Russell Wilson.
I had Jones versus Wilson here.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, we had Jones moving on. That's correct. So for you, it's going to be Watson versus Wilson, and then for us, it's going to be Jones versus versus. Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and take Wilson here. I think this is pretty simple. Nothing.
Okay.
I'm with Will on this one as well. I think it's pretty plain and cut. It's going to be Wilson.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with Russell Wilson as well. When Deshaun Watson was playing, it was tight between these two, but I think there is something to having the team behind you, having the team have your back, and having the respect of the team. And we don't know if that's going to be there for Watson anymore. So, going to go with Wilson. Pretty simple. Okay. Next matchup. Last matchup of this side of the bracket for round 2 is going to be Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson.
Ooh.
This is one of the talked about. I think this is going to be a Brady-Rodgers rivalry-esque when 10 years down the line. Because everyone, it's obvious Mahomes number 1 in the AFC for quarterbacks. But then you have that number 6 in Allen. And it's hard. It's hard to against Jackson just because of, he has that extra weaponry with his legs. But Allen has that cannon of an arm. I think, Allen has the weapons around him. Jackson's only his offense has only gone down, really. With Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews to throw to, and he has J.K. Dobbins coming off of a hurt year as a running back. Really hasn't proven himself all too much just because of that. So I'm taking Allen here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen and the Bills, are going to do very well. I think Josh Allen's a great QB, but I'm still going to go with Lamar here just because I absolutely love watching him play. Just the things he does are super special, and I think we haven't even seen half of what he can do. So I'm just going to go with Lamar, and hopefully he proves me right.
Okay, yeah, projecting some improvement. I can definitely see that. That's the crazy thing about Lamar is he's been in the league a while, but he's not at his potential yet. And there is a chance that he could never reach that full potential, but there is a chance that he still could. So it's going to be interesting to see. But for me, I actually am going to go with Josh Allen. Um, it's the same reason I would go with Mahomes, but it's a little bit different since Jackson does have that running ability. But for me, it's the difference between being a running quarterback versus being a quarterback who can run. And the difference to me is Josh Allen will go outside of the pocket to throw and use his throwing ability. And if that's not there, then he'll run. Lamar Jackson will have his running ability be his first option. And obviously, with his athletic talent, that's not a bad thing. It's definitely not a bad thing. But I just think with Josh Allen having that mentality of being a throw first guy, I think for one, he'll stay healthier long term. And also, I think you'll have a higher ceiling that way as well.
Well said, Amy. Well said.
Uh-oh.
I think Will just disappeared for a second.
Okay. We'll continue, and if he's not back by the time we decide the next round, then we'll figure that out then. Okay. So that was round 2 for the AFC. Now we'll go on to round 3, where now it's going to be okay. I believe you had Joe Burrow moving on, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you had Joe Burrow. It's going to be Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes for both of us.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that is a good one as well. Well, like I said, I'm a big fan of Joe Shiesty, but I think Mahomes has proven already that he's absolutely elite, and I think he's going to continue to do so even without Tyreek Hill. So I'm going to go with Mahomes here.
Okay, yeah, it's tough, Joe Burrow definitely has an it factor there, but I just think there's a big difference here athletically. So it's kind of an uphill battle there for Burrow, but
Yeah.
every intangible he has other than arm strength and crazy athleticism, every other thing you could possibly have as a quarterback, he has it. But I am going to go with Mahomes. I think there is a possibility that Joe Burrow could explode and maybe win MVP this year. So that's definitely not outside the cards for me. It's just I don't know. It's tough.
I mean, there's certain things you can train, and Joe Burrow's he's got those things that you can't really teach people. So that's something special that he has. That's hard to come by.
Right. Exactly. Okay, guys, I'm gonna pause this recording. I'm gonna see if I can get Will back in here. We will be right back. Okay, we are back. We actually made the executive's decision to cut off the podcast here. We have some Joep has his phone. His phone is about to die. So and we do have a pretty long podcast already. So we are going to cut this off right now. But I do want to say thank you for joining on the show today, man.
Absolute pleasure to be here, Amy. Absolute pleasure.
You really brought it with the jokes. I love the energy.
Yes, sir.
And make sure to drop a like, guys, and leave a comment as well. We really want to raise our engagement. And until next time, peace out.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to click on one of these 2 videos right here. Our latest video right here on the left, or the video YouTube recommends for you on the right.